I'm very inspired by this church. I think it's very impressive that you guys are willing to learn from people of other faith communities. I think that shows that you guys have a lot of sincerity and confidence. I'm a junior at California High School in San Ramon. I am the president of the Muslim Student Association there, and even though I am the president of the Muslim Student Association, I am not really used to interfaith work. I have never really talked about my religion like this in front of people of other faith communities. But as president of the MSA, my main job is to facilitate guest speakers to come speak to the Muslim students on Friday, because Friday is the holy day for the Muslims, and many of the Muslim students are not able to go to the mosque because they're at school. So I facilitate guest speakers to come speak to them at school on Friday, and that takes up most of my time. I'm not here today to lecture or to proselytize. I'm here today because we live in a day and age where many people are willing to pick up the microphone for Muslims. Many people claim to be experts on Islam, even though they're not Muslims. And unfortunately, they spread some pretty terrible stuff about us. They spread some really crazy rumors. They spread fear-mongering. You can think Fox News. That's basically what they do. I believe it is my responsibility to speak when someone is open to hearing me speak about Islam from Muslims. I believe it is my responsibility to speak about my faith. So my mom and I were brainstorming what exactly should I speak about today. And she said, why don't you speak about being a Muslim American teenager who practices his faith in California in the year 2015. So many people, when they find out I'm Muslim, they're like, whoa, bro, that's a really intense religion, bro. That's really hard. I can't believe you're that religion. That religion is super hard, super intense. And the reason they say that is because many times they know Muslims are prohibited from drinking alcohol, watching pornography, smoking weed, eating pork, and having sex before marriage. All of these indulgences that I just mentioned are considered to be the norm for many American teenagers. American teenagers are expected to mess around a little bit, try new things, experiment. But what gives me the peace of mind and what makes me feel like I'm not missing out by not doing any of these things is that Islam has taught me and convinced me that all of these indulgences are harmful for me in some way. In Islam, we are taught that your physical body has rights over you. All of these indulgences that I just mentioned, they have been proven to affect you either physically, spiritually, emotionally, or mentally. In Islam, we are taught you can't harm, just like you can't harm someone else, you can't harm yourself. So many people, when they find out like Muslims don't take intoxicants, especially about weed, they're like, weed? What's wrong with weed? It's just a plant that goes to the ground, and when I puff on it, it makes me happy. What's the big deal? And they don't understand why we don't drink alcohol. But the reason we don't is because we believe that God created us in a noble state. He gave us intellect. He gave us the ability to think, the ability to reason. And when we take alcohol or we take drugs, it messes with that intellect. It messes with that state, and we should not do that. Also, if you look around the world today, there is so much grief because of alcohol. There is date rape, domestic violence, drunk driving, and broken families. So we're just supposed to stay away from that so that we never experience any of those things. God states in the Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, that there is some benefit in wine. For example, it has been scientifically proven that a little bit of wine is actually good for the heart. It's good for the heart. But God also states that the bad outweighs the benefit in alcohol, so we should stay away from it completely. Also in Islam, if alcohol is prohibited for you at the age of 16, it will be prohibited for you at the age of 21. I won't drink, my parents won't drink, and my grandparents will never drink. If it is harmful for you now, it will be harmful for you for the rest of your life. And many people, when they find out I don't watch pornography, they're like, bro, you're missing out. Why don't you watch it, bro? It's the best thing you'll ever watch. But the reason I don't, and the reason Muslims are taught not to, is because we are taught that it negatively affects marital relations. It gives an unrealistic view of the opposite gender, and it is very disrespectful to both men and women. And people are like, well, you're watching pornography. If that's what you want to do, do it. Like, you're not affecting anybody else. Nobody else needs to be a part of it. Nobody else needs to, be there with you. But Muslims believe that pornography has a negative effect on your heart and your soul, on your spiritual aspect of yourself. It has a bad effect on it, so we should just stay away from it. People also ask about why don't Muslims date and have sex before marriage? That's natural. That's a natural part of life. But the reason we don't do that is because sex before marriage leads to STDs, it leads to unwanted pregnancies, it leads to heartbreak. And so we should stay away from it. In Islam, we court for the purpose of marriage. That's the only reason we court. We court to raise a family and be beneficial to society. So how does Islam play into my everyday life? Well, in Islam, we pray 5 times a day. And one of those prayers comes during school hours. So I actually had to talk to my principal. I had to ask him for a private room where I could pray during school. And he gave me one, so now I have a room where I can go pray. Freshman year in PE, there was a dance unit, and I didn't dance not because there's anything wrong with dancing, but because in Islam we are supposed to not have that much contact with the opposite gender before marriage. So those are a couple of ways Islam played into my life. What I realized is even if people disagree with you, or they think you're weird, or they don't understand why you do the things you do, they admire you because you have principles and because you have morals. They admire you for standing up for something greater than yourself, for doing your own thing. And that's just what I found. I found that people are really cool with that. They're cool with what you do. And so this has been an overview of my life as an American teenager, but I believe if I refrain from doing some of the things that God has asked me to refrain from, then I will be protected from the harm that those indulgences bring, and that I will be rewarded with something greater in the future. So it is a win-win situation for me. I don't want anyone to think that Islam is a Boy Scout religion, that it's about a bunch of do's and don'ts. Islam is about being God conscious, and it is about being God conscious and keeping God at the forefront of your mind in every single thing that you do or don't do. I feel Islam gives me a constant relationship with God, and that is what gives me peace of mind. So, so if you have any questions, thank you. Thank you.